Hi, everyone. Welcome to Walk Worthy. I'm Erin.
And I'm Lindsay, and we have a very juicy topic today.
We do.
Oh, wait, but first, before we get into the juicy topic,
yes.
How's your prayer life going?
How's it going?
How'd you do with the challenge? You can send us an email or a comment or something if you want. Let us know.
And go ahead and continue praying.
Yeah, keep praying. The challenge is not over. The challenge is the rest of your life.
Yes. Hopefully we've just started a new discipline.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So hopefully that's going well for everyone. Let's get to the good stuff.
Yes.
Okay. We're talking about, I'll just read the verse first.
All right.
1 Thessalonians 4:11 and 12 says, I'm going to go halfway through 10. But we urge you, brethren, to excel still more and to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life and to attend to your own business and work with your hands just as we commanded you, so that you will behave properly toward outsiders and not be in any need. Today, we are talking about minding your own business.
Mind your business.
That might be the title. Mind your business.
It's funny. A couple months ago, we did sanctification.
Yeah.
And as we were sitting here, we kept reading and we were like, mind your business. Maybe we should talk about that.
Oh, we need to do that. Literally.
And then someone sent us a text. They were like, hey, I was reading this verse and this is good. And we were like, we actually just decided on that as a topic.
Yes. This is a topic that I don't even know if people know is in the Bible.
Right. Probably not.
This is First Thessalonians is we were just saying, it's so hard to find because it's so short. But these verses are so convicting.
Yes.
Make your ambition to lead a quiet life and attend to your own business.
Make it your ambition. Strive earnestly.
Yes.
To mind your business.
Yes.
Which is the exact opposite of our culture. Our culture is
100%.
What's everybody doing? What's everybody's business?
Yes.
Do I know it? Can I tell it? I got to share it.
Yes.
Crazy.
It's crazy and exhausting.
So exhausting.
So there's a reason we're being told this. Because it's a lot and it's crazy. Just that it was a problem clearly in this church yeah. And it's probably only exploded now. Yes. Even more so. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what it looks like when we are not doing what this verse says.
So other places the Bible talks about being a busybody.
Yeah.
Which might be a more understandable term to people. And that I think of someone that just is always inserting themselves in situations in other people's lives. They're nosy. Mm-hmm. They are the people that there might be a conversation going and they walk up what are we talking about?
Yes.
Simmer down. Stand there quietly and see if you can pick it up. Yeah. And if not, maybe ask later or don't.
Maybe
stop the
conversation. Didn't need to be in the conversation
to catch you up with what you missed.
Right. Exactly. I think a lot of times when I don't know what is making me think this, but when you hear the word busybody, you think of a 50-year-old woman. I don't know. She's in my head, she's in a dress and a bun on the top of her head. And she's just wandering around. Yeah, exactly. But it can literally be anybody. And don't think that just because you're not that woman, that you're not that woman.
Right. And let's be honest, all of us women have busybody tendencies.
Absolutely.
Or it wouldn't be in here.
Exactly.
There's a spot. In fact, I think where two women are called out and it's tell them to mind their business.
It's crazy.
I think their name's Synecdoche and...
Synecdoche.
It's weird. It's in Philippians. I'm going to find it.
Synecdoche. She's the woman in the dress with the bun on her head.
It really is. He's tell them to get along and mind their business.
Oh, it's crazy. And I think it is important to say that we have to know that as women, we are prone to this. And yes. I don't know, it's probably because we are good at keeping track of people and yes. knowing what's going on with people.
Spin that positive, find that positive in there.
I'm saying
I love that.
There's something, it's got to come from a gifting that we've twisted
okay,
and made sin. So when we are behaving this way, it comes out as gossip, which the Bible speaks very strongly against.
Very strongly, yes.
And we kind of, gossip is kind of glorified now.
Yeah, spill the tea.
Yeah, exactly. It's so difficult. I want to know. And so I just have to be straight up, this is a struggle for me. I have grown, praise the Lord. But I do want to know what's going on with everybody.
Yes.
And I do want to tell other people.
Of course. course.
I try not to, but it's in me.
It's in all of us. Because sometimes there are things that are so shocking that you're like, you are not gonna believe this.
And I can't wait to be the one to tell you. It's so bad. I mean, it really is. When we were just chatting about this topic before we turned on the cameras, I was feeling like, oh my gosh, like, I gotta get this together. I mean, I have grown, praise the Lord. But still, there's a reason the Bible talks about gossip being like a dainty morsel.
Yes.
Because like you can feel it rise up in you. Like when someone says, like, you weren't gossiping before this. You were just telling like a story about when you could have had the opportunity to gossip and didn't. And I was like sitting here like, I wonder who she's talking about. Like, why? What is that? It's just, it's sin is what it is. But just a desire to like know more than other people, to make sure other people know you know more than them. I don't know. And then it can turn into meddling.
Yes. Which is even a step beyond.
Yes.
It's then you start to like insert yourself.
Not only do you know,
yes,
now you're going to do something about it.
Yes. And you're into places you shouldn't be and talking into people's lives where you have not been invited and you have no right to be and trying to control things that are not your business.
Yeah.
And Paul's like, mind your business.
Yes.
You got enough on your own plate. With
that you're not doing good with.
That you, let me tell you, is out of order.
Yes.
So just mind your business.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. Just like, you know, going back to that woman with the bun on the top of her head, like the busybody, like you can recognize this person because they're kind of, they're always like looking for something. Like, yes, maybe you're in a conversation, just, you know, maybe it's a totally innocent conversation, but they're kind of like, oh, like, well, who said that? You know, they need all the facts.
Yep.
So that they can pass them along.
And I have been in a conversation with people and left it and thought, they are so good at getting information. And I'm mad at myself. And
I just work for the FBI.
I know. And I'm usually pretty guarded, you know, and pretty careful. And and not that like, you know, but sometimes I'm like, I just gave a little more than I probably would have because they're just good at like pulling it out. And I leave thinking I got to be even more guarded with that person, more guarded because they're really good. Dang it.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, they're probably not trying to be. It's probably just like, they're looking.
Yeah. And they'll like sidle up.
They'll disarm you a little bit.
Yes. With the like, I know. So anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking this, right? You know, and then you're like, right. I know. I was having the same thought. And then you go a little further and you're like, why did I just tell them that?
Yes. Well, and, you know, we can you know, okay. I need to talk like not everybody else is a busybody and I'm not. So I'm going to put it to me. I feel like you can kind of be having a conversation that like could be godly.
Yes.
But then it just went not godly.
Yes.
Because a little bit of like wrong motivations came in there. You weren't talking about this because like, oh, like this is something that, you know, we need to figure out or need to support this person or need to like whatever it is. And it's really easy to pretend sometimes like that's what you're doing. That's not. And maybe sometimes it is.
Yes.
But there is a moment.
Yes.
When things went a little too far, when now I know a little too much. And I'm happy because I'm like, oh. In my sin, I'm happy.
You don't want to be responsible for the knowing of the too much, but you still want to know the too much.
Yes, it's true. Yes. This is how we are. It's why it's talked about in scripture. Yes. We need to own it, even though it's gross.
Yes.
And then we need to run the other way.
This just happened to me yesterday, actually, where I was in a conversation with someone and something happened and I was like, something that someone had done something. I was like, that's interesting. Like it was a weird thing that someone had done. And they were like, well, we don't want to gossip, do we? But it was an invitation of like, and I was like, nope, we don't. And we're like, but
it is so hard.
And you're like, but you do.
But you do because you're like, what?
I know. Like, wait, what?
Yes.
But I had to just be like, no. You know, and they were a fellow believer and we didn't go any further than that. But you had the invitation and the moment, like you said, to take it a different place.
Yes.
And I didn't feel like it was sinful to that place, but I knew it was going to be sinful. And I had like kids around. And I thought, we're not going to set this example.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
So you just have to, like you said, walk the other way and die to your flesh.
And it is really difficult. I know we're talking about this all like lighthearted and funny because it is like, funny because I think it's funny because it's so relatable. Yes. Everybody is sitting out there like, yeah, I do want to know. But it is serious, and God does take it serious. And so in those moments when we do walk away, like, praise the Lord, like, that we were actually able to, like, hold the line.
Yes.
And, like, protect whoever's involved and be holy and, like, not disgrace Christ in how we were acting.
Yes. And
it's
that is
difficult.
not to say I always do it right.
Oh,
please,
no.
Please understand.
Me neither. Because sometimes they'll be like, well, this isn't gossip, but, and I'll be like, okay, you say so.
And it is that, and that was a very clear and easy
because they
exit. Yeah, sometimes it's not so clear, and you're kind of like, I don't know how to get out of here.
Like, I know, and that is difficult.
Yes.
There are times when you can be, I think we're skipping ahead, but there are times when you can be in a group of people and it's happening.
Yes.
And it is really difficult, one, to not give, like, input.
Yes.
To try to, like, keep yourself clean in that. But then also, like, how do I get out of this? Like, you've got it. Sometimes you have to be the weird one that's like, okay, guys, like, we just shouldn't be talking about this.
Yeah.
And it is uncomfortable because, yeah, you want to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to be the one that's like, no.
Yep.
And pay attention. Like, is that what always happens when you're with these people?
Right.
Because, like, if you already have that tendency and then you hang out with people that all have that tendency, like, I remember I had a friend years ago. I don't even know what else we talked about.
Yeah. That constitutes sometimes the whole of certain relationships.
I don't even know what else we talked about. We were in very different phases of life, really didn't have a lot of common except all the people we know. And I sometimes would be like, oh my gosh, like, I never talked about anything else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't even realize that is happening as much as it is. If you start to pay attention,
Yes.
you realize how much of busybodies we all are and how our culture is really in praise of social media glorifies it.
Yes.
Really, but it is not healthy. It leads to some really bad and destructive behaviors in our own lives, which is why I think the Bible says, hey, don't be like this.
Yes, because the Lord knows, like, it's not just about the outward action of it that is a problem. It's about why are you doing it anyway? And what is that a symptom of in your heart?
Right.
And the fact that if you know, I always think of this even in, like, culture, like the news or all these things. Like, there is so much anxiety and worry and lack of peace in people's lives, and, like, suicide rates are higher, like, because we just know too much that we were never meant to know.
Yes.
We were never meant to know those things. I was just talking to a girl a couple nights ago, and she kind of realized, like, I need to get rid of all my social media. She's like, I don't need to know any of this stuff. And she's like, and I don't miss it.
Yeah.
Like, it is so much more, like, peaceful. And she even was saying, like, it can be really easy to get pulled back into, some places in her life that the Lord has brought her out of, because you just know what's going on, and you just know what's going on in that person's life, and you just really don't need to.
Yeah.
And so she had to take that step for, like, her own, like, godliness and life and marriage. And, it was really cool to see how God has used it in her life. That's a big step, though.
Yes.
A lot of us are not willing to take.
No, because I think we have a lot of FOMO, like, we don't want to miss out.
Absolutely.
We're afraid that we're not going to know and somebody else is going to know. And then
if someone is watching and doesn't know what FOMO means, I need to tell you, it is fear of missing out.
Good
Continue.
job. Thank you.
Erin's very hip.
Super cool. I'm a cool mom. Old. But, people need to be in the know because that validates their own worth, value. Yeah. Like, I know, I didn't, because it is sometimes awkward if everybody in the group knows something and you're the weird one that's like, what are we talking about?
Yes.
It's weird.
But it totally happens too.
All of us at some point don't know something.
Exactly.
We're not, in fact, God. So
yes.
It's
so
fine.
It's okay. You're not, like, less of a person because you didn't know so-and-so was pregnant from Facebook.
Right. And are you really missing out? Does that really impact the quality of your own life?
Exactly.
To know all these different things and have all this information, like you said, and all these random facts and all these life events in people's lives swimming around in your head, disrupting your sleep because now your brain's trying to process all this information that it took in all day?
I think we don't even realize, like, the impact that it has on our brains to know so much.
Yes.
And then we're constantly looking for more.
Yes.
And I think, too, it can it can just cause discontent. Like, we're not content with our own life, so we need to know about everybody else's. And then when we do know about everybody else's, we get more discontent with our own life.
Yes.
Or maybe then you think like, oh, my life's not as bad because at least that didn't happen to me.
Right.
You know,
it can be both.
Yeah.
You know, and you're using other people's lives to make yourself feel better about your own.
Yes.
Or, you know, she got this, so why don't I have this? Or I have to work to get it, and it's quiet.
It's like wild. If this is something that you struggle with, I mean, myself included, you need to ask yourself why.
Right.
Like, and really dig into like, why do I care so much about what everybody else is doing?
Yeah. What is the obsession with knowing everything? And again, there are things that don't impact your day-to-day life.
They just don't.
But you're inserting yourself into, you know, whatever happens in your house, I don't care.
Yeah.
I love you as a sister.
Yeah,
I don't care.
It's just none of my business.
It does not impact my life.
I know. Like, I don't need to know.
It's fine.
So then on the other side of this, we talked a little bit about how it can be odd to be the one that, you know, doesn't know something, or the one that has to be like, guys, we shouldn't be talking about this, or whatever. What would it look like in our lives to really do what Paul says and lead a quiet life and mind our own business? And I don't even know.
Well, it's interesting because I looked at that and I was reading like what it meant to lead a quiet life, and it meant a couple of different things which I thought were really interesting. So one of it was about almost busyness. It was talking about running hither and thither was what it said. But stayed at home and mind their business. And so we have a real epidemic in America in particular where people are so busy running from event to event to event. And I think as a result, we have brokenness in our families and brokenness in our relationships. We have a lack of peace in our hearts. We have no time to pray. We have no time to read our Bible. We have no time to fellowship. We have no time to serve because we're just so busy in the opposite of a quiet life. We have a disrupted life. And the second part of that was to be silent and hold your peace. So you're refraining from meddlesomeness in your speech. You're quiet. So it's not just a quiet mind and mouth. It's a quiet life.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that we deliberately fight for. I know you do too. Because I know that I need times of rest or we will implode in ministry. We just can't do it. And I cannot believe we say no to so many things. And I cannot believe still how busy I feel and still how hard it is. And I look at people that say yes to a lot more. And I'm like, I don't know how they're even
functioning.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is something that you do have to fight for because there's always going to be an invitation. There's always going to be another thing to do, more people to see, more people to go out to eat with. Like, there's always going to be something. And those things aren't bad in and of themselves, but if they're taking from things that matter, then they can become a bad thing.
And ultimately, I think all of this robs our peace.
100%.
And so the Lord is trying to help us have a more peaceful life.
Yeah.
And he's saying, live a quiet life and mind your business.
Well, and even just that like phrase to me, and it's kind of more my personality too. Like, there's like so much peace. Like, oh yeah, I do want to do that.
Yes.
I want to lead a quiet life.
Yes. And I think deep down people do, because they'll talk about all the different things that they need to do or want to do, or all the things they don't have space and time to do.
Yeah.
And we chase this, you know, Instagram photo of just kicked back on the beach and hanging out all summer because it's hashtag summertime, you know?
Right.
And none of us are really doing that because we're just trying to, like, now the groceries have to be done. Now the emails have to be responded to. Now I got to meet this person, my kid's soccer game, or, you know, whatever. And you're just running from thing to thing, so harried. And I don't believe it's the life that God designed for us to live.
Yeah. Which is very kind of him.
Right.
Like, I don't know. That's just like so refreshing to me.
He's like, rest.
Yes. So,
be still.
But we get so caught up in what we're supposed to do. You know, culture tells us what we're supposed to do. And we get, like, sometimes we think that like people like need to know what we have to say about something. You know, like we were talking about social media a lot. Social media goes a lot into this topic. Because I think it is like a big driver behind a lot of things.
Yes, it caters hugely to this.
Yes. And, you know, we think that we need to like make a comment on what everybody does, or we need to like give advice or opinions like on Facebook. Like, I mean, I don't really feel that way personally, but I know people do. Like,
well, and it has so normalized being a busybody. I mean, people will say, "Oh, I Facebook stalked them first," or
like, I haven't talked to this person in 15 years, but I told them what I thought about this. Like, you have no relationship with that person at all. Why are you telling them anything about anything?
Right. Or my high school friend, her husband died. Okay, you haven't spoken in 20 years. That is sad.
Yeah.
But like, this is, again, information that is like,
yes,
you can't possibly maintain relationship with the amount of friends that you have on social media.
Absolutely
And yet
not.
you're trying to keep up with major milestones in their life, and you're stressed out about it all the time because you're like, it's too much.
Where if you really like realized like, these are the people that God has put in my life right now, and so how am I caring for them all? You're probably not.
Right.
Because you're probably more focused on the people that you literally don't even see.
No.
You don't have a relationship with them. You haven't seen them in 20 years.
Right.
And
or you might never see them ever because they're just an influencer.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't know you. You don't know them. They don't care about you.
Yes.
And they really day to day do not impact your life. Except
Yes.
you buy whatever they tell you that they need. That you need. You've got to have this thing.
I'm guilty.
I do?
I'm guilty.
I know. I just ordered something a couple days ago. And I do need that.
That's the thing with all of these things. They're not inherently sin.
True.
Where like, oh, you can't have social media. You can't be friends with somebody and to keep up with their life from a long time. Like, but
right.
Like, enough is enough. Like, you have to decide what is worth it and what is not. And maybe, it takes time to like cut some of it off to realize like, oh, my life is better.
Yes. And every moment that you spend elsewhere is a moment that you're not investing in actual, real, physical people in front of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Particularly as we talk about social media. I mean, you can be a busybody with people in and around your circle too.
Absolutely.
But again, social media is it caters so much to this. And I do think it robs so much time. I try really hard, not always, but I try really hard to be in lines and be waiting places and not be on my phone.
I know.
And it's insane. You go anywhere and there's no conversation, there's no eye contact, there's nothing because everybody is just right here. And I look around and think about how much even stress that is on our brains, again, to be processing information. I remember when we went to Vegas a couple of years ago on a mission trip, and the lights and the signs and everything is just constantly blinking at you. And I remember going to bed and just feeling like, your brain is still processing everything that it saw. And it took me a while to fall asleep. And I think our minds can be like that, and we don't even realize it because we're giving it all this information all the time. We're constantly looking at a screen. We're swiping because everything has to be faster. It's not quick enough. You didn't say it fast enough. More information. And it just, I think our brains are on overdrive all the time.
Yes.
And we need quiet spaces to think through things. The problems that you have in your marriage, you need some time to just sit and think about why they're there and not distract yourself from them. The child that is freaking you out right now, you need to sit and think about.
Freaking you out.
You need to sit and think about why is it happening? What should be done? But there's no quiet space to even do that because we are busybodies involved in everybody else's things, because sometimes I think that's easier than just dealing with our own stuff.
Yes. I think it's an escape a lot of times. Not even just in social media, but in life. Like, I'd rather know what's going on with their family than like figure out what to do with mine.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, when we have so much information, like you were just saying, then it probably just increases our level of gossip because now we have all this information. We got to get it out.
Right.
So we're running back to meddling in people's lives and, sharing things that are nobody's business and things like that because, that's what we spend our time doing, not like investing in relationships and things. We're like, I have all this information to share.
So what it says in 1 Thessalonians is that we are called to live a quiet and a tranquil life.
And it says so that part of it is so that we will have a good reputation with outsiders. Yeah. If you know someone that is a busybody, you're probably, like you said, like, how'd they do that? Like, you feel a little duped, and if you aren't a busybody yourself and wanting to know everything they're going to tell you, then you might feel, nobody really likes that person. They're like, they're just going to try to get information from me.
Don't trust them for sure.
Yeah. Like, you're never going to share anything real with this person because it's not going to be safe with them. And that's a bad reputation. No, that's not a reputation that we as believers in Jesus Christ should have. and not in the church, and especially not out in the world. Like, we should be more trustworthy than anyone.
We're called to discretion.
Yes.
We're called to wisdom in how we speak. We're called to protect. I mean, it says love always protects. Not protecting sin, obviously, but protecting reputation, protecting from slander, protecting from injury and harm. And being a busybody can be so incredibly damaging to people.
Yeah.
Telling things that shouldn't be told, because that stuff eventually gets around to the person that it was told about, and that's so hurtful. And we've all had that happen, and that never feels good. And that is very angering and wounding, and we don't want to be part of hurting someone. If we truly know Christ, we don't want to be part of that.
So, 2 Thessalonians, I was thinking there's so many verses in Thessalonians that are kind of like this, I don't know, this like flavor. I'm like, they must have really had some like
some problems.
some problems in the Thessalonica.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Church of Thessalonica. But in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, it says, keep away from every brother who lives an unruly life. And I was kind of thinking about that word. I was like, unruly, what does that mean? So I looked it up, and it means like disorderly and like out of ranks. It's talking about soldiers. Like, you're just like not doing things the right way. You're not going about things as you should. You're not using wisdom. You're not using just understanding of how situations are. Yeah. If a person is living an unruly life, they just are like,
you're out of order.
They're chaos.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, this person is chaos. They're spreading chaos. They're spreading news and information that's not their own. They're meddling in people's lives, certainly causing chaos.
Yes.
They're just out of order.
Yes.
And we are to stay away from people like that.
Yeah. I mean, it says literally cut them out of your life.
Yeah.
And pursue one of the, it talks about in other places where it talks about not being a busybody. It says instead we're supposed to pursue godliness and dignity.
Yeah.
And those aren't really standards that we talk about a lot in our culture. Our culture certainly doesn't idolize those, unfortunately.
Right.
But we as Christians ought to be pursuing those things and surrounding ourselves with people who are pursuing those things, who are godly and who are dignified. If we want to be more like Christ, we should surround ourselves with people who are in the same pursuit.
Yeah, because those are the only things that matter anyway. Those are the only things that have eternal value, that are productive.
It's like an NBA player only playing with middle school basketball players.
Like, what are you doing?
You're not going to get any better.
Yes, exactly. We're not going to be sharpened.
You're not sharpened. Yeah.
We're not going to grow because we're just being pulled into
probably not saying any of us are the NBA player, but
yeah, definitely not. Definitely
we
not.
want to be the middle schoolers playing with the NBA players who
Jesus
are getting better.
Is the NBA player.
Exactly. Maybe it wasn't a perfect analogy, but you know what I'm saying.
But really, like, if you want to grow, you want to be more like Christ, then you need to be surrounding yourself with people that are in the same pursuit of that.
Yes.
And if they're not, and if they're surely going to pull you into their riptide.
Yes.
Like,
and this can become, like you were talking about earlier, this can become the culture in a friend group, and you don't even realize this is just what we do, and you feel like you were entertained, and so, we had a good time.
Yes.
And there are times that I leave and I think, what did we even talk about? This like, people are like, oh, that was great. And I'm like, we talked about nothing that mattered.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing that mattered. Only things that are about other people, honestly, for the most part.
No, it's sin is what it is. It's sin.
It's sin.
Yes.
Yeah. Another verse in 2 Thessalonians. That's what I'm saying. These people had some problems. Chapter 3 says, some are leading an undisciplined life, doing no work at all, but acting like busybodies.
Yes.
Like, you're not doing anything productive. You're not, like we said, you're not growing. You're not maybe doing any work for the kingdom.
Right.
Because you're so in everybody's business. So, like, what do you even have to show for your life?
And there's a real correlation there between being a busybody, I think, and people that aren't doing anything that matters because you have the time to be a busybody.
Yeah.
I remember reading a quote once. I don't remember. It was on Facebook or something that said, it's hard to throw stones when you're washing feet, when you're busy washing feet. And it's like, yeah, that's true. I have a lot less time to look at and examine everybody else's life and be critical of it and insert myself in and say, maybe you should, or spill the tea on somebody else when I'm busy doing what I'm supposed to do, because who's got time, and Wes and I'll say that all the time, like, who's got time? Who's got time? I don't have time for that.
I know. I feel like that sometimes, sometimes you hear it with somebody and you're like, who literally has time for that? But then,
I know, not trying to be snotty.
I know, because then I feel snotty, but that is kind of how it should be. Is like, we should be so about our Father's business. Like, we didn't really have time to, like, I don't really worry about that or think about that. Or
Wes would say that sometimes, he would say that, who's got time? And he was saying, like, I don't have time. I'm choosing not to have the time to worry about that. And for a while I was like, well, I got time to worry about it. In fact, but I started to think like that does make sense. Who has time?
Yeah.
And focus on I have a certain amount of time. We all have a certain amount of hours in the day, and there always are more things to do than I was able to accomplish. Yeah. And I can choose to invest my time in the things that matter, in the things that I care about, and allocate my time that way. Or I can choose to be a busybody about something else. Mm-hmm. And I think if you are a busybody, you need to ask yourself the question, is your life really about anything that matters?
Yeah.
Is it about the kingdom, like you said? Are you serving in any capacity? Do you even see the lost and the broken? Are you tapping into any of the gifts that God gave you to? Because there is nothing like employing those in the service of the kingdom and watching him transform lives in front of you. He does it. He does the work, but we get a front row seat to it, and we get to, in some way, partner with him in that. And there's nothing better to talk about than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and a lot of times we're so focused on maybe like, especially in the church, like unfortunately the church is full of busybodies and gossips, which I think the world knows, which is very sad.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we're so focused on other people's sin or other people's problems or things like that. We're not even focused on our own, like the verse that talks about removing, I don't know if that applies. I'll take it. I'm going to rewind. But just talk like we aren't fixed on, or more fixed on the drama in other people's lives. Mm-hmm. And, this is what she should be doing. Like, because her husband is like, well, maybe you've got your own stuff in your own marriage that you should get figured out.
Right.
Before you have anything to say
right.
about what's going on in her life.
Exactly. Mind your own business. This is what it means. Mind your business. And as it talks about, in that same place where it talked about, we heard that some of you are leading an undisciplined life, doing no work at all. The next verse says, we command such persons and exhort in the Lord Jesus to work in quiet fashion and eat their own bread.
Eat your own bread.
Here's the fix. Here's the fix for your busybody self.
Yeah.
Get to work, eat your own bread. Mind your business.
I would wear a shirt that said, eat your own bread. Like, there's so much meaning in those 4 words. Like,
mind your tea, eat your own bread.
Yes, but it's so true. Like, how much better off would we be if we were actually putting in the time and energy to maintaining our own walk with the Lord, to, I don't know, like investing in our marriage, to discipling our children, but we're not. We're just running around.
And again, as you said before, the peace in that, just minding your own business, I can feel when you have the freedom to just throw all of that off. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to care about it. I don't have to carry it in any fashion. Not to say we don't bear one another's burdens in the church. That's
for
different. Sure. But to not let that stuff speak into my life and just cut it loose is such freedom.
Absolutely. It's so restful.
Yes.
When you come to a place where you really realize, like, I don't think I care. I don't really think that matters. And I don't really have the mental capacity for it anyway. So, nah.
Yep.
And then you just eat your own bread.
Right. And I love what Paul says in 2 Timothy when he's talking to Timothy. He says in 2 Timothy 2, he says, no soldier in active service entangles himself in the affairs of everyday life so that he may please the one who enlisted him as a soldier. So our goal, if we are actively engaged in the Christian life, is to please the one that enlisted us as a soldier. That's what we're supposed to do. Not please everybody else, not please the gossips, not please the busybodies. We're to please the Lord, and we're to be involved in active service. And if we are, then we don't entangle ourselves in these affairs, because again, who's got time?
I love that word, entangling. It is the perfect word, because if you're all up in all these situations, like, get me out of here. Like, it really is entangling. I love that verse. And there have been times in my life when I've literally just had to, like, keep my head down,
disentangle,
and be like, nope, I need to not be entangled, and just repeat that verse to myself, because, maybe you're not a busybody all the time. Like, maybe it isn't in your nature to, like, want to know everybody's business all the time. But there can be seasons when you're in the middle of something, or there's a big situation, something big or dramatic has happened. And, like, it can be really easy to, like, feel like you need to know everything that was going on, or be pulled in situations like that. Maybe it's something going on at work or in, like, a certain group of friends. And it can be really easy sometimes, like, I need to get in the middle of that, or, like, I need to know what's going on. And you don't.
Yeah.
And there are times, and you have to use wisdom, but sometimes you need to like just keep your head down,
Yeah.
not get entangled because it doesn't really involve you anyway. It's not yours to fix.
Right.
And just try to like live godly within whatever those relationships are.
Yes. And sometimes we are pulled into a situation that we are called to help. So I don't want to say, you're never called to be entangled. But even in that, you have to use wisdom to figure out what pertains to you and what doesn't,
Right.
and how entangled you get. Because the rest of minding and caring for, I think minding your own business is like mind your business, but it's also care for your business, take care of your business. And that can suffer at the expense of, and again, there are seasons where maybe a parent is sick or,
Yes.
a health crisis, whatever, things blow up. But there also are times and seasons where there are people that I have invested everything I'm going to invest in. They don't seem to want to change. And now I have to say, this no longer pertains to me. I'm here. If you want to come and talk to me, I love you. I will help you. This is not mine to continue to insert myself in, because now I'm coming to you all the time. Hey, have you thought about this? Hey, are you doing this? Hey, the Lord, this. Like, this is me being a busybody in a different way, in a spiritual way. And there's a certain point at which it's like, this is time now to say, I'm here. I love you. I'll meet with you anytime. I'm now going to mind my business and take care of what God has called me to, because I have a responsibility here and I've invested all that I can there.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I think that can probably happen for moms a lot with their children and things like that, where you can feel like I have this, if you have older children, that's just a situation I think of where it can be really easy to feel like I need to fix this, I need to do this, I need to give my input. And, even it can be with, maybe you have older parents or something, and like they're
family members in crisis, or close friends in crisis.
where they're dealing with something. And like, you have to realize like God didn't call you to like save them out of that. Like, maybe you're supposed to be helpful, whatever it is, but there does have to come a point when it's like, okay, what am I responsible for? What am I called to first? And that might not be it.
Yes.
And just really kind of asking the Lord for wisdom in those situations, because it is hard, because you do care about people. You do want to be helpful, but like you said, there comes a point when, well, I don't think this is for me anymore.
Yeah. And I think in a very real sense, we need to ask ourselves whether it's about something as lighthearted as social media or as heavy as a burden someone's carrying. Is this my business? And if it's not, then just mind your business.
Yes. Just mind your business.
Just mind your business.
And eat your own bread.
Eat your own bread.
And the ultimate goal of this, we have to remember, is that like in everything that we do, we are called to represent Christ. We are his ambassadors. Titus talks about we should adorn the gospel. We should make the gospel attractive. And like nothing that we've talked about has been attractive. No. It's not a good look for the Lord. It's not a good look for the church. And like I said, I know we've kind of like talked about it in jest, and because it's so relatable and so real, I think, to a lot of us, but it is sin, and we have to be repentant of it. We have to guard ourselves from it and ask the Lord for his help. So, maybe this is our challenge. Try to not be a busybody this month. I'm just kidding. We don't have to have a challenge every week. Well, finally, someday we'll walk worthy, because we'll actually like, get all these things down.
That's right.
But ask the Lord for his help, because I know I need to. It's never going to happen, because in my flesh, I want to be a part of all of it. So, lead a quiet life. This is a really good episode. I needed it. I needed to hear it again.
Always.
So this is hopefully encouraging to somebody. We will see you next time. But until then, walk worthy.